Wario Land 2 is, above all, a game with a lot of ideas. Since Wario is the inversion of Mario, instead of gaining helpful items to power up, he solves problems through failure. This game innovates by relying on Wario getting hit by enemies in order to gain an ability, and it's depicted in this sort of cartoonish form of torture for him. This is a game that presents itself as a story. Instead of having an overworld like Mario Land 2 and Wario Land 1, you're simply presented with a chapter title and an objective at the beginning of each level. There are some attempts at story beats here, but despite that framing, I do think that this game has even less of a plot than Wario Land 1, and that is a pretty low bar to clear. Where that framing begins to make sense, though, is after you complete the main story at least one time, you notice the implication of all of these branching paths that are available to you. Completing the normal story campaign will only lead you to have completed about 50% of the levels that this game has to offer. This branching approach to progression is in itself interesting, but basically the only differing story elements in each branch are Wario pursuing Captain Syrup to a different location. Another thing that's really fun to me is that there's this really easy boss called the Giant Spearman, who's kind of just like a larger version of the normal Goomba type enemy in this game. You start to notice that he's recurring, but if you go through and play every story branch, you find that he has his own devoted chapter in every single story branch of the game, which is really funny to me. Once you complete all those branching story objectives, you get the disturbing, really final level, which appears to be made of leftover tiles assembled in this sort of creepy and unsettling way. And the final secret boss for that whole ordeal is, you guessed it, the Giant Spearman again. There are some fun themes and character moments in this game, like Wario's whole inciting incident of having to turn off his alarm clock. There are also some really cool boss fights, like this basketball game showdown with a rabbit. Ultimately, I do think that there's a lot to love here, but to me this doesn't quite hit the magical sort of balance that Wario Land 1 and 3 both do. There is a significant time investment required here if you really want to see what this game has to offer, so if that sounds interesting to you, I think it's worth a try. But ultimately, I appreciate this game for the new ideas that it introduced that were further iterated on in Wario Land 3 and 4. For a longer discussion about this game, you should check out my podcast Pocketeering, where we did a devoted episode on it. Did you play this game? What'd you think of it? Follow for more.